So here I was, my Facebook feed blew up with information about an upcoming vaccine debate by someone named Heather Simpson, who, to be quite honest, I've never heard of Heather Simpson mentioned in any research circles or articles or journals. So doing a PubMed and even a Google Scholar search for Heather Simpson vaccines yielded absolutely no results. Nothing. Who was this Heather Simpson, and what claim to fame did she have on arguing vaccine science? Interesting question. Well, the answer to that question appears to be a big fat nothing. Literally nothing. Lives in Cincinnati with no apparent science degree, with no apparent immunology degree, with no apparent biochemistry degree, with no apparent hematology degree, with no apparent medicine or molecular sciences degree. Nothing. Not a single qualification. Not even homeopathic epidemiology. What we did find was interesting. She's peddling homeopathic products and appears to be shilling anti-vaxxers out of money based on fame. So it appears she blogs to get followers to sell product. Interesting. So I dug a little deeper. Apparently, according to Heather, polio was never eradicated. It's a funny thing, I don't see many polio victims walking around these days. In fact, none. Heather claims it has simply been renamed. Could polio have been renamed? Could this virus, an enterovirus C in the family of Picornaviridae, have had its symptoms renamed? So diagnostically, it has an RNA genome and a protein capsid. The enteroviral particle is about 30 nanometers in diameter with an icosahedral symmetry. PCR confirms this. Was it renamed to acute flaccid paralysis? That's a good question. Acute flaccid paralysis is pathologically determined by differential diagnosis, including paralytic poliomyelitis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, and transverse myelitis. So what does this mean? Did I just say paralytic poliomyelitis? Yes. Acute flaccid paralysis needs to be differentially diagnosed as distinct from paralytic poliomyelitis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, and transverse myelitis. Less common etiologies of acute flaccid myelitis are traumatic neuritis, encephalitis, meningitis, and certain tumours causing acute flaccid myelitis. Acute flaccid myelitis is a neurological disease. Acute flaccid paralysis is rare but serious. It affects an area of the spinal cord called the grey matter. This causes the muscles and reflexes in the body to become really weak. Because of these symptoms, some people call AFM a polio-like illness. Polio-like. It is not polio. It is not the enterovirus C viral particle that's about 30 nanometers in diameter with an icosahedral symmetry. Polio is determined to be polio by PCR. Acute flaccid paralysis is exclusion of the enterovirus verified by PCR and is determined by other causes. AFM causes many of the same symptoms as other neurological diseases, such as transverse myelitis and Guillain-Barré syndrome. This is like how a sore foot can be caused by a virus, by a bacteria, or by a knock, bump, or break. They all may feel equally as sore. They all may feel the same, but determination of the pathology will either determine whether it's viral, bacterial, or physical. They may all look the same to someone shilling homeopathic products without a pathology department to confirm or deny enterovirus C presence. However, AFM can be next to impossible to distinguish from polio or Guillain-Barré syndrome on physical appearances alone, which can make it difficult to diagnose. To make a diagnosis, a doctor will do a neurological exam, including looking at where there is weakness, poor muscle tone, and decreased reflexes. They'll look at a CT or an MRI of the spinal cord and the brain. They'll do lab tests, lab tests on the CSF to determine whether or not the enterovirus is there. By PCR, they'll also look at microbiological tests for meningitis and bacteria. They'll check nerve speed, conduction, velocity, and responses to muscles to the messages from the nerves. So they'll use electromyography. Stating things like polio has been renamed is not only fraudulently bad science, it is terribly misleading. Heather has no relevant qualification, nor any idea apparently. So Heather, you need to enroll in a science course. May I suggest medicine or medical science? So start there. Do yourself and your followers a favour. Stop blabbing on with ridiculous memes and science lies. Go and get some education.